Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another round of Adiraiju Plays Godzilla, Monster of Monsters. Today, we will be taking the fight to the enemy in the final stage, thank goodness, Planet X. Planet X looks a lot like the little planet from Sonic CD, after Eggman pretty much took it over, doesn't it? Anyways, or the Death Star, you could make an argument for that. Anyways, Planet X is, well, it's what you'd expect. It is the hardest world in the game. Fortunately, you're at a high enough level that you'll probably be able to get through it without much difficulty, but it's still going to be a pain in the pattuckus, simply because of the fact that it throws everything at you, and I mean everything. You are going to be, fortunately, unlike earlier levels, such as Neptune, it will also throw a diverse array of different worlds your way, plus it is not actually very long. It's going to take us a while to get through it, but that's just because it's so very difficult, and it has a lot of monsters. And unlike the other worlds, where there was at least a chance that you could get past them without seriously going after anything, or more accurately, there was a chance of you getting past the worlds without an enemy monster managing to hit you. This is totally different in that it's a straight line, and the only way to get to the end is to get past every single enemy monster that the game has. So, yeah, you're going to be going through a lot of different monsters today, but fortunately, the level itself is relatively straightforward, so we don't have to worry about much else. It doesn't really have much. It basically has one type of level, and then and then a couple of machine city levels, and then another unique level. I think it starts off with wilderness, then volcano, then jungle. It's sort of like how the whole rest of the game plays out, really, with the wilderness of Earth starting off, then the volcanoes of Mars, then the jungles of Jupiter. Wow, that feels like a long time ago. Wow, maybe I should upload more than one level per day, but that's just me. Anyways, the enemy monsters are going to be coming after you as well, so just do what you have to do and kick their behinds. Fortunately, after a certain point, the enemy monsters can't really go up to attack you very easily, simply because they are going to be piled up against one another back there. And the very last monster in the game never actually moves. He'll never leave the end stage, and you'll have to get past him, no matter what. But now that the volcanoes are being gone through, oh dear. Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of horseshoe fireballs, in case you haven't figured that out by now anyway. And you're going to have to take down every single one of them. Fortunately, because the enemies are so thickly placed, you're going to level up very quickly here in this last stage. And that'll allow you to, well, if you haven't gotten all the way up to level 16, I believe is the cap, and I haven't, you're almost guaranteed to do it if you can manage to survive. And that's a big if. Otherwise, just keep moving. I haven't really gone through how difficulty levels go, and I haven't really gone through exactly how saving works in this game. There's no real savings. There's a continue option from where you last left off, and there's a password feature which allows you to visit any world in the game, provided you know the passwords. But if you don't know the passwords, well, then you're SOL. Nowadays you can look it up on the internet, but back then I don't even know how you'd use the passwords, or even get them more accurately. There's one of the more infamous ones is the Destroy All Monsters password, which is exactly what it sounds like. Yep, there goes Ghidorah, as incompetent as always. But one of the most useless ones in the game is the Ghidorah password. If you type in Ghidorah with a 1 instead of an I believe, and I don't think there's an H in there. Anyways, you can look it up online, but once you get to that Ghidorah password, the game doesn't actually... the game basically kicks you into an unusable level with some weird and goofy music playing, which I'm not sure what to make of. There's also the Destroy All Monsters password, and if you type Destroy All Monsters into the passcodes, then it will... well, it'll send you to a different version of Earth, and I believe you'll be at level 8. And every single enemy monster will be somewhere on Earth, and they're going to be charging at you, and you have to beat them all. But since you're level 8, and the enemy monsters are at a much higher level, this is pretty much the acid test of the game, the Dante must die mode. So, I wouldn't really recommend doing it. Fortunately, well, that was that. Oh wait, it wasn't the jungle that was next, it was the machine cities, which is a little odd, but going out of order, yeah, whatever. Boom. At least this is probably, when you think about it, the hardest level in the game for Godzilla, simply because the stupid machine cities are the hardest levels for Godzilla, because he only can get past these stupid towers a few certain ways. But now that we've gotten through the worst of the machine cities, it's pretty much smooth sailing from here on out for everybody. Well, almost, but I'll get to that when I get to it. You know, in a weird way, I'm kind of going to miss this game. For a very long time, and by a very long time I mean a couple of years, it was the only real adventure game starring Godzilla that was released in the West. There were later games like Super Godzilla and Godzilla 2 War of the Monsters, but with this game, it actually feels like an adventure game that you can just stroll through levels, destroying everything in your path, actually being the king of the monsters. And that's an experience a lot of those other games, the later ones, just don't have. Later on with the Pipeworks trilogy in the 2000s, that would be Rectified? How do you pronounce that? Made right, made gooder. But up until then, from the 80s all the way through mid-80s all the way through the 90s, this was all you got. And as a result, there's some strange nostalgia based on this game for a lot of people. I'm not one of them. I confess my first video game system on the TV was actually an N64, largely because I came around just a little too late for the Super Nintendo, but at any rate, that's all there is to say. There ain't no more. At least with Mothra going through these levels, it's actually a little easier because most of them rely on clobbering you with 8 jillion different weapons, and Mothra can fly over most of those weapons, and, even better, because by now she'll be at such a high level, she can pretty much all but spam the power wings. An earlier commentator once mentioned that it looks like she's firing her eyeballs out at you, and I have a confession to make. I did not make that connection. But I should. I mean, it's orange dots. In the movies, I believe Mothra had a couple of antennae ray that she could fire at you, and in a couple of video games she has similar weaponry, but shooting eyeballs at you, now that's a new one. And of course, the poison powder weapon is... well, that's been in her arsenal right up since Mothra vs. Godzilla. I don't think she ever used it in her debut film, Mothra, but here, she uses it, and she uses it good. So let's just keep on rolling along. Is that a song? Or did I just make it up? Oh well. Now this looks more like a Death Star trench run than ever, but for some reason there seem to be 2 Death Stars. Wonder what that one on the back is doing hanging around. We don't really know. We never really look. This game has a storyline, but it's more of an excuse plot. Aliens are invading. Go take them out. Are you a bad enough monster to rescue the president? Probably. And then I'll eat him too. Oop, down it goes. Nope. You missed me. But even as the game comes to a close, there's a weird sort of sense of impermanence. I was first introduced to this game, actually, not when it came out. It came out before I was born. God, this game is older than I am. But with James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, during his original run, when he started his Godzilla games marathon, he mentioned this one, and he did exactly what you'd expect James Rolfe to do. He basically slammed the game, and I can't blame him, because this is not a good game. It's... Ooh, come on, yeah. And I'm a little surprised, though, that he didn't even mention the horseshoe fireballs. I'm not sure he got that far in, but compared to everything else in the game throws at you, and the fact that it's damn near impossible to use, more accurately, it's damn near impossible to get past a lot of things without getting hit, the horseshoe fireballs don't really seem all that bad, and... ouch. And it gets just plain obnoxious. Yeah, as I remember in his very earliest videos, James Rolfe didn't really go that deeply into the games he was trashing. I mean, granted, most of them didn't deserve to be gone very deeply into. I'm looking at you, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But he actually did go back to a couple of games that in his very earliest years he simply never really went into. Wonder if he'll do that for this game someday. I doubt it, but it's nice to dream about. Dreams, the impossible dream. Oh boy. Now that we're... I wonder if... I haven't been paying attention. Does the color of the different Trench Run mecha cities have anything to do with how we're going to face our opponents in later levels? Or how their colors are really any more dangerous? I mean, on Mars you had the orange lava levels and the purple ones and the ash-gray ones. And it seemed that the ash-gray ones were the most difficult, but the purple ones weren't really that bad either, and the orange ones were the easiest. So, is there something that I'm missing there? Oh well. Let's just head on forward. Doopa-doopity-doo, I'm going to kick you. Ooh. Yeah, that's one thing I'm not gonna miss, is those stupid missile launchers, the trinary missile blasters. Simply because they are just not fair. Okay, grant you other parts of the game are not fair as well, but these are the only... those missile launchers I'm going to hate more. Ultimately, I hate those 3 missile launchers more than the fireball horseshoes. Largely because everybody hates the fireball horseshoes, because they follow you around, they do a lot of damage, yada yada yada. But at least once you get past them, at least once you learn how to deal with them, you can do it without too much difficulty. On the other hand, those trinary missile launchers, not so easy. And there is no way to easily beat them. Not that I know of, at least. Please tell me if I'm missing something. Anyways. Gonna miss the jungles. Gonna miss the volcanoes. And the domed cities. And all that's left for us now is more machine cities. Boom. Well, that's the end of those things. There's not a whole lot to... Ow. I haven't been paying much attention, but is every lava at every jungle level actually its own distinct level, or are they randomly manufactured? Because it seems to me if they actually had like a randomly manufactured aspect to them, like Super Mario Maker, because all the elements of the jungle and all the levels seem to be really cookie cutter, and they don't necessarily fit into a specific theme at all. This is one of those games, well, not so much a platformer, but a beat-em-up, where you could really go Super Mario Maker into the thing and create your own levels in it without really damaging the integrity of the gameplay at all. So, whatever you say about that. Anyways, Ghidorah, Mothra, Hedra, they were all very easy. Ow. Baragon, yeah, I remember you. You were the first one that actually gave me a hard time. Boy, I won't forget you with, I won't remember you with any level of fondness. Ugh. Kick, 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 kitty, kick. Fire to the face. You'd think that would... You'd think the fire to the face would be more damaging, but whatever. Come on, so close. Oh, and no matter how low you get the enemy monster's health, in later parts of the game, it's not going to get any... Well, no matter how low you get your opponent's health on Planet X, they will never retreat, which I guess makes sense because there's nothing past Planet X and this is their last line of defense. But now that Baragon's dead... What the heck? Fireballs from the sky? Okay, whatever. Oh, great, Gigan. Oh, but Gigan didn't... well, whatever. I guess I'll just let Gigan charge up at us while I finish everything up as Mothra up here. I'm still a little... Ooh, down you go. So, how would I rate this game overall? Well, truth be told, there's not much to say about it simply because it's just sort of there. It actually does have a few good points. In terms of simply being a platformer beat-em, well, not so much a platformer, just a straightforward beat-em-up game, it fulfills its mission. It's not too buggy. It's blatantly unfair in some parts, but not to the point where it's completely unplayable and unbeatable, like a few other games I could mention are, especially in the Nintendo Entertainment System era. Some people just forget just how hard those earlier games were, but this isn't really this is... how do I put this? It's a bad game, but there are some aspects to it that are enjoyable. If that makes any sense, there are some aspects to the game that are enjoyable. If they had trimmed this game down, if they had just shortened it by a lot, and maybe just and instead of throwing the same monsters at you again and again, just eliminate the army, or rather change the army so that it all attacks you one at a time, and after you beat Ghidorah and Mothra on Earth, then you move on, you only face Varan on Mars, a much smaller Mars, and so on and so forth. Yeah, if you trimmed this game down quite a bit, it would actually be downright enjoyable. But they didn't trim the game, and thus we're stuck with this thing. Boom. This thing with the trinary missile launchers, which I hate. Those... Ow! I was about to say, those didn't give me as much shit as I expected. Oh, that's because you were waiting behind it. Oops. Nope, nope, no. Boy, that stung. At least even the horseshoe fireballs aren't really that bad after you get to a certain point. Boom. They just can't do enough damage to really hurt you. And that's the thing about the endgame. It's awesome and at the same time kind of boring, because at this point you've fought so many enemies, you've gotten so insanely powerful that nothing in any of the levels is really dangerous. Even things that you fought before and were kind of dangerous back then, just even though the enemy monsters have also been leveling up, they're not as dangerous as you are by now, plain and simple. When we first fought Varan, his power level and his life bar were higher than ours. But now it's just sort of painful. We can pretty much spam the atomic fire and wipe him out easily. Quadrant demonstratum. And that was... well, that was the last of the really weak enemy monsters. Guess we'll go down here because the last 3 monsters in the game are the hardest by far, but you probably already figured that out. At least the jungles are almost through. I don't know, maybe it's just because I've been deliberately spacing this game out. Maybe it's because it's actually kind of dangerous. Maybe because there's just not much left to do after this, but I'm gaining a sort of sense of nostalgia here. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, since I've been bitching about this game most of the end, but it was my bitching to do, damn it! So, what else, what comes after this? I don't know, is the truth. I know I said I'd do Godzilla 2 War of the Monsters, and I'm still thinking that's the most likely option, but I'm also considering Super Godzilla, or maybe something else. I don't know. But you'll find out when I get to it. At least the worst of the game is already over. Well, the worst levels, I should say. The hardest part of the game, the hardest enemy in the game, is still before us. The hardest enemies in the game total. But we'll get to that when we get to it. If you'll notice, all the fire effects, except for the little orange balls, are differently colored with Mothra. Not only are I already mentioned this before, but the lasers on Mothra's eyes, or Baragon's fire breath, those all had slightly different colors, slightly darker colors. And the same is true with the horseshoe fireballs. They're just different colors when Mothra's around. And Gigan's, yeah, I think you might see it if Gigan decides to actually be not worthless. But I doubt that'll happen. Well, regardless, yeah, this is cheap spamming, but I'll take care of Gigan with Godzilla after Mothra's worn him down a bit. Ow! Ow! There, you see the laser eye? Different color with Mothra than with Godzilla. Yeah, the fighting style is very similar to Godzilla Daikaiju Battle Royale, and it's kind of obvious that you can tell that the creator of that game got some inspiration for this, because Gigan's theme in that game is actually, I believe, Gigan's theme in this game. Or a potential theme for Gigan's, rather. There were later Godzilla fighting games that were better than this one, namely all of them. Well, except possibly Super Godzilla, but that's really just because Super Godzilla had a very different fighting mechanics. But whatever. Anyways. Yeah. Should I go against him as Mothra or Godzilla? Because I'm not going to get tag-teamed by Mechagodzilla. You know what? Yeah, I won't move. I'll let Mechagodzilla come to us so we can tag-team him. Because I am not going to get stuck down there and get my ass kicked by Mechagodzilla and the final monster. I love how Mechagodzilla is just moonwalking there. His legs are constantly moving even when he's not going anywhere. Not sure what that means, but whatever. Well, with Mechagodzilla on the ropes, there's not a whole lot for us to do but just knock him around. Yeah, same trick as with Gigan, but once Mechagodzilla is starting to weaken, then Godzilla can take him out. Pretty easily, too, actually. It also helps that Godzilla's just plain tougher than Mechagodzilla, but even if Mechagodzilla sometimes spams those lasers like a frickin' tool, Godzilla's just got too much strength in him. And that's it! That is the end of Mechagodzilla. Both of our enemy monsters are at level 16, and yeah, that's King Ghidorah. There's no worth hiding it. No reason to hide it. But now that that's over, ooh, you almost missed me. It's like the George Carlin bit. No, that wasn't a near miss. That was a collision is a near miss. Pow! Crash! Look, they nearly missed. Yes, but not quite. Yep, that's it. That's the movement I'm supposed to make. Boom, 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 and that's the end. I guess this is just the game's way of allowing you one last level up, just in case somehow you got all this way to deal with King Ghidorah and didn't quite manage to make it. But now that that's over, only one enemy left to face. King Ghidorah is the hardest enemy in the game by far. I'm serious. He doesn't look like much here, and that's because he's being unusually reasonable, but he has pretty much every enemy monster's tactics in the game combined. I'm not sure why he's being so skittish. Ah, there we go. That's what I was afraid of. He's got everything. He has those electrical things are as strong as Baragon or Mothra. He's got those laser attacks. He's very good at retreating just out of your reach, like Baragon or Mothra. He'll sometimes teleport, and he'll sometimes spam the three-headed pecking at you, like Gigan will with his buzzsaw. Overall, in spite of what he looks like, King Ghidorah doesn't actually fly worth a damn. He just jumps around sometimes. I'm not sure what the heck that means, but whatever. Maybe they just said, you know what? Screw it. We've already got a picture of We've already got a perfectly good sprite of King Ghidorah we created for the opening sequence. Why not reuse it? But sir, that King Ghidorah is flying, and this one pretty much fights like he's on the ground. What do we need to do with that? Screw you, Jenkins. I assume there was somebody named Jenkins on the production team. But yeah, King Ghidorah is also really tough. And come on, yes. With King Ghidorah down, that's not quite the end of the game. You still have to get through this last level. Yes, ooh, missed me. Yeah, that was smart. Well, at least Mothra can wipe out this stupid thing relatively easily. Ow. And end it. You can also just bypass this, but you know what? Why was I not just bypassing it? All that's left to really do is compare the score, and your high score well, that depends on how much damage you did, because I don't think there's a time bonus. I think it's just, did you blow this up? Did you blow that up? Well, good, here's some points. The points do nothing. But let's just keep moving. The very end of the game is strangely nostalgic. This is the end of everything. The end of the enemy monsters are all out. All that's left is some of Planet X's last military forces. And I think we wiped out the worst of those back on Neptune. So, what's left to do but just mop up the mess? We're simply too powerful at this point for, well, I'm not going to say any amount of X-Alien technology to stop, but simply too powerful for most X-Alien technology to do really anything to us. So after that, that's all she wrote. Wait a minute, how are we going to get back? You know, the game never actually addresses that. How do Godzilla and Mothra get back to Earth? I mean, assumably there's some sort of teleporter back on the home planet, because you're still getting... This last level is still a teleporter in there, but other than that... Yeah, that's probably it. I'm just thinking way too much into this. Nope. Bye-bye, Horseshoe Fireball. And if anybody can figure out how to finally beat one of those stupid Horseshoe Fireballs, please let me know. Those things are far and away the most pain-in-the-ass parts of the game in the earlier segments. And in the later segments, as you grow stronger and stronger, you just get too much health for them to really be much of a threat. And a little too much experience as well. So, yes, occupy the enemy headquarters. Make me sound like a military force. Then again, I'm the one who's probably smashed all the military forces of Earth by now. Or I'm playing as him anyway. Boom. And that's the end of everything, really, now. Yeah, I've said that before, but it's taken me a while to realize that... Oy. Moonlight SY3, I'm gonna miss you. Because the Moonlight SY3 actually does reappear in Godzilla 2 War of the Monsters, but I'll get that when I get to it. Boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom. Yeah. Come on. Ow. Oh, dude, I still don't like those things springing out of nowhere and just... You just get a little closer, get a little closer, get a little closer, whap! It's like a Three Stooges move. Down you go. And with that down, and... Of course, this is the last boss. This stupid thing is the last boss. There we go. And that's the end. I've already said pretty much all I can say about this game. And yes, this is the final cutscene. I'll leave you to read it by yourselves. But now that everything in the game has finally ended, well, not much to say other than I'll see you next time. War is over. Not the war. All war! Godzilla crushed the invaders from Planet X. Peace has returned to the Earth. The lowercase Earth, what the hell? Peace has returned to the dirt. After the fierce battle, the wounded monsters, Godzilla and Mothra, are resting until the day they rise again for the sake of mankind. Or for the sake of crushing it, whatever. And on devastated Planet X, a message is left for Earthlings. To our deepest regret, we must admit defeat. This time. Dun, dun, dun. We almost won, but we did not know Godzilla was such a powerful foe. Gone is our legion of monsters, the strongest force in the universe. Never again shall we see Ghidorah or Gigan. Having lost our base, we now embark on a journey to nowhere in the universe. But Earthlings, save your rejoicing over the victory which Godzilla brought to you. Our journey will not last forever. We, the people of Planet X, will never give up our plan to invade the Earth. Invade the dirt, again. We promise that we will organize a second, even a third legion of space monsters and destroy you in future. We shall not fail. This is our I guess it lost something in the translation. This is our challenge to you. The last days of the Earth are coming soon. Earthlings, prepare to die. And on that grim note, you may be wondering... yeah, I was gonna say, you may be wondering if the aliens from Planet X ever show up again. Well, it's kind of arguable that they might show up in Godzilla 2 War of the Monsters, but I'll get to that when I get to that. At any rate, I had fun, sort of, sometimes, and I will see you next time around. Thank you very... Oh, I almost forgot one thing. There's a roll call here. Ghidorah, Mothra, Baragon. Yeah, that's him looking at the camera like he does sometimes. That he never did, though. I never gave him the chance. Varan, Hedra. His flying form is a sprite in the game, but he never transforms or uses it at all. I wonder if that was something that they were originally intending him to do on Neptune. Anyways, Mechagodzilla, Ghidorah, and Mothra, along with, of course, you know who, Godzilla. So, that's that. I'll see you later, ladies and gentlemen. Farewell.